A lot of you guys are in high school and don't have the biggest budget, and you guys are always hitting me up in the Discord talking about, oh, is this car good? Is this car good? Should I buy a super junky version of a nice car just so that I can be in my budget of $5,000? The answer is no. But there are a couple of Japanese sports cars that are in the market right now that you can buy a pretty nice one or a halfway decent one for $5,000. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video, guys. The top 5 Japanese coupe sports cars that you can still get for under $5K in decent condition. Before we start this video though, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. Leave a comment of which one is your favorite at the end. And also join the Discord if you like to play video games or talk about cars. So first off, you already know from the driving clip and you know my love for Toyotas, I had to put this one first on the list because it kind of checks every box. It's got an amazing engine, it's got a beautiful interior, and the looks are kind of debatable. Some people say it looks like a catfish and some people say it looks like a super sexy luxury car.
Do-wee mama!
And that is the SC300. The inline 6 2JZ makes 225 horsepower and it's a rear-wheel drive car. It has the option to have a manual. But for this budget's sake, in this video, you're probably not going to be able to get one with a budget of $5,000 unless you find a grandma that's got a sweet spot for you.
Hey, I'm starting to remember why I love the road so much.
In a normal situation, you'll be able to get 160 to 200,000 mile SC300 for around $5,000. With some cracks in the interior, a couple dents on the exterior, but overall the car should run great, and all these dings and all these cracks in the interior can be fixed later down the road. Once you get your money up again, you can either go with reupholstering the interior, or you could just use that same amount of money and buy a racing seat. So you have options here if you want to go for that stock build or a race build. Any one of these can be done down the road, but as of right now, you are chilling with a reliable 2JZ SC300. On top of that, this car has a ton of mods since it shares the same engine with the Supra. You could just slap a turbo on there and get around 400 horsepower reliably, and then even if you wanted to down the road, you could swap in a GTE. Also, if you want to swap to a manual, those swaps are available, but they do cost a lot of money because those transmissions are kind of getting a little bit rare now. The two options you got are either the W56 that was in the IS300 manual and the SC300 manual, or you could opt for the turbo Supra transmission, which is the R154, and those cost a lot of money. But at the end of the day, if you want to do that, you can definitely do that later, and it's something to save up for. And overall, it is a great first tuner car. Next up on the list, we have a car that is known for not being reliable. And that might scare a lot of you guys off, but if you get the lower trims, which is what's in your budget, they could be actually pretty reliable. And that is the Mitsubishi 3000 GT. These cars are pretty much nicknamed bad reliability because of the active aero braking, lots of problems with the four-wheel steering, and lots of problems with the engine. But if you get the single overhead cam version of the engine, they are pretty much bulletproof. And then the dual overhead cam version of the car has a little bit more horsepower, but also requires a little bit more maintenance. And when I think of single overhead cam, I'm thinking sub 100 horsepower. But good news for you, the single overhead cam version makes 164 horsepower, and then the dual overhead cam version makes 222. So for the horsepower rating, they're not that bad. With this car, you also get the best of both worlds. If you love pop-ups, they have a version with pop-ups, which is the earlier model, and then if you don't like pop-ups at all and just want a fixed headlight, you can go with the later versions, which is also the revised version of the car. And out of all of the cars from the 90s, I've got to say this is one of the best looking cars that you can get from the 90s. So it might not be that fast, it might have some issues with reliability, but if you want a looker, I mean, there is no better option than the 3000 GT. And there's only one bad thing that I've been keeping from you, and that it is front wheel drive, since you're not getting the VR4 version, which is the all wheel drive version. But if you really do not care about speed and you want a good looking car, this is the perfect budget car for you. If you want to spice it up just a little bit more, throw an exhaust on there, and you might be able to fool a couple old guys around the block that you got a car that can beat their 69 Camaro SS in the garage.
Slow down! This is a neighborhood!
And the last and final bad thing about this car is that since there's 3 engine options and nobody gets the single overhead cam version to mod into like a high horsepower beast, you're not going to be finding that much aftermarket support for the single overhead cam version and the NA dual overhead cam version. But this next car on the list has one of the biggest aftermarket support scenes, so if you want to embrace your inner Fast and Furious, this is a car for you, and that is the NB Miata. The NB Miata is a second generation of Miata, so it doesn't have the pop-up headlights, but it does have the 1.8, which is better than the original 1.6 in some of the pop-up versions of the car. It is 138 horsepower and is rear-wheel drive, comes with a 5-speed manual, and it is one of the most fun cars to drive. I have owned 2 Miatas in the past, and man, I've got to say, it might not look the best. The 3000 GT has that in the bag, but just for the fun factor, the Miata comes in first. I don't think any car can create the feeling of just throwing the top down and cruising on a curvy road with a small, nimble car like the Miata. And if you're actually going to be going to the twisties and doing stuff like that, the Miata is perfect. While the 3000 GT would be more of a cruising to car meet type of car. And like I said earlier, since everybody loves this car, they've even made like race leagues just dedicated to Miatas. The aftermarket support is amazing, and they literally have everything you could ever think of for sale. I know a lot of people like to turbo these and get a little bit more horsepower out of them. But if you just want to keep it as reliable as possible and have a really fun car, just fix up the suspension, get some new sway bars, put some poly bushings, and get some coilovers, new wheels, and some tires, and you'd be good to go with an amazing budget weekend car. And if you're into investing, Bitcoin, stocks, anything like that, the Miata is also a great car to do that, because not only the value of the car will go up, but the value of hardtops go up so much. Just like 2 years ago, hardtops for Miatas were like $1,000. Now they're like $2,000. So if you buy a different color for every single day of the week and keep them all, give it 10 years time, each one of those things are going to be like $6,000 to $10,000. Sell all but one of them and you'll be set. Retire, go to the beach every single day in your Miata, you'll be living the life. Now if you want something like the Miata, but you're a Honda boy through and through, the perfect car for you is the Del Sol. For this budget price point, you can either just get the regular Del Sol that's around $3,000 to $4,000 and invest in some mods like a cold air intake, maybe some coilovers or some new wheels. Or if you want to spend the whole $5,000, you can get the SI model, which has a better engine that makes 127 horsepower instead of the measly 102 that you find in the base model. But this car is a Honda, and like we all know, Hondas are parts bin, so you can find parts for an EG or an EK and slap them on here with little to no modification. But by themselves, the Del Sol does not have as much of an aftermarket support as the Miata. But these are great cars, and they're seriously slept on. Not that many people in the car scene like these, and because of that, you can get these things for cheap, which means you'll have even more money if you get one for under $5K to mod it out. Instead of it being convertible, this is the target top, so it's going to have that hard top look, and you don't have to worry about ever replacing a soft top. And if you want to feel the breeze in your hair just like a Miata, all you have to do is take the top off and put it in the trunk, so you can still have the open top experience. And if you really want to be different, I mean, this is the car for you. I've never seen a clean Del Sol at a car meet. They're either riced out or really junky and need some serious TLC. So if you put together a clean Del Sol, you're going to be the center of the car meet. And last but not least on this list, for the 5th spot, we have the 300ZX Z32 NA. This V6 engine has 222 horsepower, and the Z32 is a rear-wheel drive car, but there's one major thing that you need to know about this car. This car is very hard to work on because of the engine being so big and the engine bay being so small. The engine literally barely fits. So if you're going to be looking for one of these cars, just know that doing maintenance is going to be harder than any other car on this list. Also, you might have to do more maintenance because these cars usually break down a lot. One thing that's good about this car that's not on the twin turbo is you don't have the Hikes 4-wheel steering system that a lot of people have to end up removing. So you don't really have to deal with that at all. You already get a car without that, so that is one solid point. And these things look killer. You can bring up to your friends that these same headlights were used on the Diablo, and people will think you're just weird for bringing up random facts, but you know, it makes you feel good inside. On top of that, not even relating to the Diablo, these cars look so cool. Just how slanted the front end of this car is, and the headlights, I mean, it's just a beautiful car. You can get these with T-tops, so again, you can feel the wind in your hair, but just keep that in the back of your mind that the car might catch on fire, because the only person I knew with one of these kept really good care of it, and he swapped in a Japanese motor with 60,000 miles 2 years later. I'm like, where the hell did that 300ZX go? Oh yeah, it caught on fire. But enough about the bad on the 300ZX. There are some goods, and one of them is that all 300ZX Z32s have an LSD. So with the Miata, you would have to get a certain trim package to get an LSD. With this, any one of them will have it unless the guy took it out for some odd reason. Another great thing is that these are great handling cars, even though that they're on the bigger side. So if you want a fun handling car, but you can't get the Miata because it only has 2 seats, you can get the 2+2 version of this car, which has 4 seats, and it'll still handle great. Just know, again, you're gonna have a lot more problems with it than a Miata, because Miatas are like bulletproof. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe down below. It really helps me out. Let me know in the comments which one you guys are thinking about buying, and I'll see you guys next one. Peace out.